Good morning, Your Excellencies.
Good
morning,
Dr. Yang.
Excellencies.
Very good morning to you all. Very good morning to you all.
Yeah, happy ASEAN Day. Feel like Chinese New Year and all the New Year.
Happy ASEAN
Thank you
Day.
so much.
Happy ASEAN Day, happy ASEAN Day. Good morning.
Yeah, very good morning to all. Good morning.
Morning.
Yes.
I'm
Morning, Ambassador Passport, very quiet.
Fine. Hello. Happy ASEAN Day.
Yeah, nobody asked any questions, huh? Ambassador Ade, nobody asked you any question. Too bad. The BOT member, nobody asked.
Oh, good. So the question should be for the other PRs.
Yeah, later I can open the floor also if other PR is ready to answer some of the questions. No, it depends. No? If the audience give us some questions, then we just open up.
Okay.
If that's necessary. Okay. Yeah. So maybe just a quick rundown. Huh? So we will start with myself, and then we actually wanted to play the video of the video clips of ASEAN made by ASEAN Secretariat. So, and then after that, I will do a little bit of. Oh,
We lost you.
And then pass it to Ambassador Ade. And then after that, pass it. Still lost or okay?
I think it's okay now.
Okay,
it's okay
right.
now, Ms. Yang.
So then I will come back. I'll open the floor for questions. There are 2 or 3 questions for now. I'm sure that Yona, my officer, already shared with you. 1 question for yourself, Ambassador Ade, and then 1 question for DSG Kong. And 1 question is open-ended. It's about environmental. You know? So we will leave it to who wants to take it later. And then we prepare some questions if there is no question from the floor. But I think there will definitely be questions from the floor because we have Ministry of Educations from some of the countries. So we will definitely ask about disruptions, interruptions of educations and all that. Yeah.
Okay,
so
good.
yeah, and then we end out with my summary, and then we do have a video that made by ASEAN Foundation, sponsored by Connect ASEAN. You know, the first Encik Razi, Mr. Razi, that created the logo of ASEAN, the first version of logo. So we did a short interview with him and why he created that logo that now that you can see, that center logo. Actually, it came from paddy. So it is unity is strong, something, the concept is about that. So, and then after that, and of course, there are some clerical things from participants. They need some certificates or all that. So the MC will take over from there. Okay. So if we have any questions that not related to that, that Ambassador Ade would like to pass over to other PR, please by all means can casually, pass it over. It's fine. Yeah. Okay. So I think more or less ready. We have 2 more minutes to start. Yeah. We are. So let me introduce you to our MC of today. Sorry, I almost missed out. Joshua. Joshua is our intern. So Joshua will be our MC of today. So I won't be MCing. I'll just be moderating. So I hope that we will support Joshua. This is his first time with all these PR, all the excellencies. Yeah, okay. Joshua, where is your glass? Maybe you want to put and show them earlier how you were supposed to look like. Then I rejected the look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told him, my God, this is older than any of us. So I asked him to remove it. It looks better now. Yeah, you have to remove it. Okay, all the best. Let's hope that the show will be smooth with good Wi-Fi. Tati, we have a photography session. Yona, the photography session is before anything start or how?
Yes, so before the introductions, I think that Joshua will give Your Excellencies the cue and we're going to take the photo. Thank you very much. Josh, you may begin with the sessions. Thank you.
All right, so in a count of three, we will take a photo. So 3, 2, 1, and just one more. 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much. All right, shall we begin our proceedings? High Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar for the Committee of Permanent Representatives, or what is known as CPR. My name is Joshua Santos, one of the ASEAN Foundation youth who will be your MC for today. As a quick background, we've previously held these CPR lectures across universities, gathering ASEAN's ambassadors to inform the public about ASEAN's activities. These events often bring diverse stakeholders in realizing a cohesive and responsive ASEAN community, united to rise above shared challenges and working together to sustain our region's growth. This year, due to the pandemic, all ASEAN meetings take place virtually. And to continue promoting ASEAN cooperation, we have moved the CPR lectures online, a substitute now known as the CPR ASEAN webinar. Before we begin our proceedings, I ask that you mute your microphone throughout today's presentations and during our live Q&A conversations as a housekeeping rule. As a side note, for those seeking a certificate, I ask that you stay with us until the very end of this webinar, where the key for issuing will be revealed. To start us off, I'd like to invite Dr. Yang Mi Eng, Executive Director of the ASEAN Foundation, for today's remarks.
Thank you, Joshua. Good morning all and happy ASEAN Day 2020. I would like to say a special good morning to ambassadors of 10 ASEAN member states, Mr. Kompok, Deputy Secretary General of ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community of the ASEAN Secretariat, and webinars participants wherever you are. So it is a great pleasure for me to welcome all of you to the first episode of the CPR, as we mentioned just now, Committee of Permanent Representatives to ASEAN Webinar Series 2020. The title of this webinar is Cohesive and Responsive Under the New Normal. I'm happy to see that many of you are able to join us on this Saturday morning, and we are very excited to kickstart the first session of the webinar series today. Allow me to express my appreciations to the Permanent Mission of Republic of Indonesia to ASEAN, especially to Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to ASEAN, His Excellency Ambassador Adepatmo Sarwono, for making this webinar a reality. So the COVID-19 pandemic has brought an unprecedented challenge to the realization of ASEAN community building. The trickle-down effects of COVID-19 has caused a serious disruptions to our way of life and negatively impacting our social and economic systems. Policies such as lockdown and community quarantine are essential in containing the rate of infection, but it comes with consequences in the form of big scale, temporary closures of schools and businesses across the region, forcing people to implement work from home and virtual learning. However, amidst the uncertainty caused by the pandemic, ASEAN government under the leadership of Vietnam as the chair of ASEAN in 2020 has intensified their efforts to alleviate the negative effects of COVID-19 pandemic. This CPR to ASEAN webinar series is a unique online platform that provides insight into what kind of cooperation and collaborations that the government across the region have brought forth to empower their citizens during and even for post-COVID-19 pandemic. With that in mind, I'm very honored and excited to have three distinguished guests with us today. So the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia of ASEAN, His Excellency Ambassador Ade Patmore, and then the Ambassador of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam to ASEAN, and also the Chair of ASEAN 2020, His Excellency Ambassador of Tran Binh, and also the Deputy Secretary General for ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community of the ASEAN Secretariat, Mr. Kompo, as our speakers today. This is indeed a good opportunity for all of us to know firsthand the social impact of COVID-19 in ASEAN and what kind of joint efforts that have been put in place by ASEAN and its external partners in combating the COVID-19 pandemic. As a leader of an ASEAN entity that has directly affected by the pandemic, I'm convinced that the goal of this year as an ASEAN chairmanship, which is cohesive and responsive ASEAN, can be realized by harnessing the opportunities brought by the digital transformation and the fourth industrial revolution. I believe that it is something that is perfectly aligned with the ASEAN leaders' vision statement that was taken on June 2020 for the purpose of rising above challenges and sustaining growth, especially during the difficult time. So if there is one thing that we have learned from the pandemic is that going digital is no longer an exclusivity, but a necessity. It is also inevitable that post-COVID-19 new norm will be more digital-based. As key stakeholders of the ASEAN, it is our duty to ensure that those digital privileges are inclusive. This is a perfect time for us, ASEAN entity, to use our resources to bridge the digital divide among marginalized community. So let's start by using this pandemic as a momentum to embrace the digital transformation. So finally, I wish you a productive webinar session, and I will be back soon to moderate the discussion session. Stay tuned and see you later. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks, Dr. Yang.
Yeah.
Next, I invite His Excellency Ambassador Ade Patmore Sarwono, Permanent Representative of the Republic of Indonesia to ASEAN, for today's opening remarks. Excellency.
Thank you. Thank you, Mother MC Yosua. And also I'd like to express my thanks to Dr. Yang, just opening this, just brief inform you about this webinar. Happy ASEAN Day, Excellency, colleagues, and all participants around the world. Warmest greeting here from Jakarta, and thank you for also to join us on the special occasion of the celebration ASEAN Day. As already mentioned, this is the first ever CPR webinar series organized in collaboration with the ASEAN Foundation to replace our traditional CPR lecture due to current pandemic. As part of our ongoing effort to promote ASEAN and the work that is being done by the Committee of Permanent Representative to ASEAN in Jakarta, this webinar serves as an excellent medium to get across a message of peace, friendly relations, and prosperity in our region. I envisage that meetings and seminars like this will become a new normal, and we have to get used to of this activity. This webinar, as I said, is replaced the traditional CPR lectures, which are normally organized. We usually go to the university and meet a student or other stakeholder, but unfortunately this time we're not able to do that. And this today topic, as you know, is cohesive and responsive under the new normal. It should be familiar to you because I borrow the team from Vietnam chairmanship of ASEAN this year, and adapting to the condition we faced during the pandemic. Let me stop here I hope that all you will gain something positive and useful from the webinar. I thank you all. I was told that there are 823 registered. It's amazing number who joined in the Saturday morning. I appreciate and applaud you to join and listen for our webinar. And I wish you to all have a fun and exciting discussion. Now I beg you to MC. Thank you.
Thank you for your opening remarks, Excellency. Now I invite His Excellency Ambassador Chan Duc Bin, Permanent Representative of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam to ASEAN and Chair of ASEAN 2020, to address us with a keynote speech.
Good morning, everyone. Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, happy ASEAN Day to all of us. And this is a great honor for me to deliver this speech on behalf of my fellow permanent representatives to ASEAN. And at this CPR webinar series, this is first one, titled Cohesive and Responsive Under the New Normal. First of all, please allow me to express my appreciation to Ambassador Ade Padmo and the permanent representative of Indonesia to ASEAN, and Dr. Yang Mi Yang, Executive Director of the ASEAN Foundation, as well as the teams for organizing this webinar. And I would like to also thank Deputy Secretary General Kung Fok and all my permanent representative colleagues for their time and joining us on a Saturday morning. And of course, this is no ordinary. We are here to share our thoughts, our thinking on ASEAN with all of you, but at the same time, join you in celebrating on the 53rd anniversary of ASEAN. So a very warm welcome to all of you. As you have heard, that the CPR stands for the Committee of Permanent Representatives to ASEAN. This body was established in 2009 following the entry into force of the ASEAN Charter. Over the past 11 years, the CPR has fulfilled many tasks assigned to us, and most importantly, we have played our part and contributed to the building of the ASEAN community, contributed to expanding ASEAN external relations and other activities that's assigned. And we work very close with the ASEAN Secretariat as well. This, I think, without naming, but I will have to highlight that the achievements are not small at all. And in this new, changing and challenging world, the CPR continues to keep abreast of the development and work together to adapt to the new normal and to address the challenges that we all face. And I hope that through this webinar, this is one of the many activities that we do. We will be able to share with you our thinking and give you more information on ASEAN and the work we do and how we can work together in the months and years ahead, and especially in addressing the challenges that we face now. This occasion also marks the 25th anniversary of Vietnam's membership in ASEAN. 25 years ago, Vietnam joined ASEAN, and this has brought the region, Southeast Asian, into a new era of development, a region of peace, of concord, of cooperation, and of development. And today, as you can see, as the ASEAN community building, ASEAN community is a community of 650 million people, and the combined GDP of all ASEAN member states ranked the 5th in the world. So we have come a long way, not just since 1967, but also over the past 20-25 years. And we've been able to work together, as I mentioned, to strengthen peace, bring prosperity to our people, and strengthening our partnership with our partners around the world. And this year is also interesting because Vietnam assumes the chairmanship of ASEAN. And under the theme of a cohesive and responsive ASEAN, Vietnam has worked closely with our ASEAN member states, with our partners in leading the region in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. As Secretary General mentioned early this morning, that no single country can wrestle the crisis alone. And that's exactly what ASEAN, under Vietnam's leadership and chairmanship this year, has do. We have also put forward the motto of think community, act community. This is very important. We need to think together. We need to put our thoughts together, our minds together, and find a way to overcome these challenges and to continue to build a stronger, more united, more prosperous, and more peaceful ASEAN for our people. Now, what have you done? And obviously, Dr. Yang, ED, has highlighted some of the achievements that we've made since the beginning of the year. Of course, this medium of communication, I mean, this video conferencing platform is somehow has become the norm, but that also has enabled us to continue to accomplish, to work together to accomplish the many tasks and the many priorities that we have set out for this year in order to realize the Vision 2025 of the ASEAN community and continue with our work to address the challenges. What we should be concerned now, of course, is why we address the pandemic, how we work together to bring to the early realization of some medicine for our people, make them available, accessible to our people. At the same time, how we remain connected, integrated economically. This is very, very important. And I think under the within this year, we have been able to look at various options, various plans to help ASEAN recover and continue to build our economy, to support our businesses, and to give our people all the support that we need. Despite that's aside, I think for ASEAN this year, when we are faced with the dual challenges of the pandemic and the changing geostrategic landscape in the region, ASEAN still remain united. We've been able to work together. We strengthen our resolve to strengthen ASEAN centrality and work with partners. So this is a very important aspect of the work that we do this year. Why we have to work together to defeat the pandemic. At the same time, work together to overcome and to the uncertain strategic environment that we face. But we believe that as ASEAN is united, we will be able to work together and overcome these challenges and move the ASEAN community forward and maintain an ASEAN of peace, security, and prosperity for our people. So with that, I would like to end my speech here, and again, with a very warm wish to everyone on this special occasion. So thank you.
A very insightful keynote speech. Thank you, Ambassador Chan. I will now hand it back over to our moderator, who will facilitate our next few sessions. Thank you, Dr. Yang. Dr. Yang? Sorry, we're just experiencing.
Sorry, I will unmute. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Joshua, and thank you, Ambassador, for the great opening remarks and keynote speak. So good morning and welcome back to the discussion session. This is the core session of the day. And I wanted to say a special good morning to Ambassador Akira Chiba from Japan Mission, and also Ambassador Gustavo from Chile Mission, and also Mr. Nankervis from Australia Mission for joining us this morning. Without further ado, let me just, before we start the discussion, the webinar session, which is cohesive and responsive under the new normal, for those who join us, this session will be moderated by me. And then before we start the presentation, our distinguished guests, I would like to also remind everyone that the participants to always mute your mic, your microphone. For those who have questions for the speakers, please address your questions through the available Q&A box, which is located underneath the screen. And if you have any questions also you wanted to refer to our speaker, the two speakers, Ambassador Ade Patmo and also DSG Kompo, or to our other PR members, CPR members, please, by all means, you can do it and you can post your question in the chat box. So, but before I pass the floor to our first speaker today, I wanted to actually have a little bit sharing on you on a short background of who is Mr. Kompo. Mr. Kompo is actually supports the Secretary General of ASEAN by providing leadership in implementing the ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community Blueprint. So all the blueprint that you see, that it is actually handled by DSG Kompo. Before assuming his role, DSG Call of Ministry, Minister of the Royal Government of Cambodia. And he was working on foreign policies in the Office of Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Cambodia. He is a Grand Cross and the Royal Order of Cambodia. So with great pleasure, I would like to actually call upon DSG Kompo to share his knowledge with you, and his title.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yang, for your kind introductions. Of course, you know, the ASCC blueprint is, you know, one of the most important document for the ASCC pillars, and, you know, all the people who work in the secretariats and also the member state have been working closely together to advance that. So I'm glad that, you know, we're making, you know, a lot of progress on that front. Let me start by, you know, saying happy ASEAN Day to all colleagues, ambassadors, and participants. It's timely, you know, that we are talking about this because, you know, the ultimate goal of having the ASEAN community is to support our peoples, and one of the biggest challenges that we are facing at the moment is the impact of COVID-19 on the livelihood of our people, and you know that's very clear, and you know, it impacts in many ways. It's not just, you know, about the income, but even, you know, health and many other aspects of their life. So COVID-19 started, you know, as a health crisis, but it quickly turned into economic crisis, social crisis, and, you know, even to some extent, security crisis. ASEAN member states have been very forceful and swift. You know, when we received the notifications of abnormal pneumonia case, you know, from our Chinese colleague in the first week of January, on average, it took the regions only 17 days, you know, to declare a state of emergencies or lockdown after 50 cases were confirmed compared to other regions, and this, you know, due to our past experience, you know, facing some of the major outbreaks in the world. For example, SARS in 2003, H1N1 in 2009, Ebola 2014, MERS-CoV 2015, and Zika 2016. So we are not stranger, you know, to the outbreak, to the pandemic and epidemic. What is different is the magnitude, and we are going to discuss about that later. According to the World Bank, the baseline scenario, which predicts that the global growth contract by 5%, and if that's the case, this will increase the numbers of people who live in extreme poverty by 71 million people. And if, you know, the downside scenario is correct, which is going to contract by 8%, then, you know, the numbers of people who live in extreme poverty will increase by 100 million. That's a huge number. And many of these people are also in our regions, you know, according to the ADB and also, you know, all the partners, we also expect a significant contractions of our economies as well. So there's no doubt, you know, the impact will fall, you know, heavily on the poor people. This is not just, you know, about the economy per se, but it also, you know, undo, you know, a lot of achievements that we have made, you know, over the past decades. ASEAN member states are very committed, you know, to achieving the SDG with the COVID-19 and also, you know, a lot of challenges that we face. It's clear now that we might not be able, you know, to achieve, you know, all the goals that we plan to achieve. 15 out of 17 of the SDG are lagging behind. And this is some things that we are, you know, going to discuss further on how we can mobilize the resources and how we can put, you know, our commitments in doing as much as possible, you know, to advance the SDG. Now, when we're talking about the socioeconomic impact of COVID-19, there's so many aspects of it. And actually for the ASCC now we are, you know, working on a socioeconomic impact study, which is going to be done by Cambridge University and Nanyang Technological University. And we hope that, you know, this study will present a more detailed kind of, you know, understanding of how COVID-19 really impacts the livelihood of the people and in what areas and what would be, you know, some of the recommendations that we can introduce. Now, my colleague has, you know, prepared me 35 pages of talking point, you know, to discuss about the social impacts of COVID-19, so that we can see, you know, the magnitudes and the multifaceted impacts of COVID-19 on our society. So rather than going through all the 35 pages, probably, I just look at some of the main areas, and, in case we have more questions or point to discuss, we can do that in the Q&A session. Let me start with the probably the biggest area, which is inequalities. There's no doubt that COVID-19 exacerbates inequalities. The impacts on the livelihood of our people, not just from the COVID-19 itself, but also even from the responses that we put in place. For example, people like older person with disability, informal settlement, homeless people, those who live with HIV/AIDS or preconditions, people in detention, institutionalized settings, the poor, women and children. So the impacts of the COVID-19 and also the impacts of the responses that we are introducing are falling unevenly on different segments of our populations. Let me give an examples of, physical distancing. A lot of people are working from home, but that's the luxury for some people. It's a choice, for them between going to work or putting the foods on the table. And we can see that many of them choose the latter because they don't have a choice. Also, the some of the interventions that we kind of think that it's very simple. It's something that people can do. For example, cleaning hand. But for some people, in some quarters of our regions, they cannot afford that. There's no clean water. Sanitation is still a long shot for them. So these are some of the lessons that we learned from our interventions, from our responses to COVID-19. And this could be, inform us when we are, having this kind of crisis in the futures, and when we, formulate our responses. All of this, criteria will also be seriously looked at. Let me move to the health sector. Of course, that's the most impacted sectors here. Our ultimate goal is to save and protect as many lives as possible, and that is the reason why the ASEAN member state have been forceful, has been working hard in doing the tests, in tracking the infected persons, and also those in contact with the infected persons, and also treating them, as much as possible. We've been working closely together, it's not just among the ASEAN member state, but also with our partners as well, to ensure that we have, qualities, affordable, accessible, and most importantly, equitable, diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccines. So these are, the things that we've been doing. We've been, working closely with partners in terms of, creating platforms so that we can exchange ideas, exchange experience, lesson learned. I'm sure Pak Ade will talk more about that because it's going to talk about, our cooperations with our partners. But these are, some of the responses in the early stage of our response, to COVID-19. Of course, we never anticipate that COVID-19 will be at this magnitude. We used to have experience, for example, with SARS, with MERS, with Zika, and all that. Things seem to be, manageable. We have enough time to respond to it. And although, some of the cases arrived in the region, but it was not, impacting all sectors, at once, which is different, these times, because it's not just the health sector, it puts on hold almost everything. And now even, all of us, we cannot even have physical meeting, and now we have to do it online. So the impacts, to some extent, we don't anticipate that. We don't think that it's, going to happen at this magnitude. And also we believe that, our hospitals, our frontline workers will be able, to take care of it. But, the reality is a bit different. And that's why, we face a number of challenges in the early stage. For example, high infection among our frontline workers, doctors and nurses, the lack of, PPEs, and that prevent, our frontline workers, doctors and nurses, from doing their job as effectively as possible. And this could be, one of the lessons that we can learn from the whole things here. And we need to invest more in all of this in order to make sure that we are, ready for the next outbreak. I don't think that, this is going to be the last one, and is going to be more in terms of, such challenges at this magnitude that will come to the regions. So the most important things for us is to learn as much as possible from, the current crisis and then prepare ourselves well. Actually, we are now into like 6 months of the outbreak. We still learn new things from the COVID-19, not just from the medical side, but also from the other, facets of the outbreaks as well. From the ASEAN side, we have some existing institutions that are working on this. We have the ASEAN Emergency Operation Network for the Public Health Emergency in Malaysia. We have ASEAN Biodiaspora Virtual Centers that is doing the big data analytics. It's now in the Philippines. We have ASEAN +3 Field Epidemiology Training Network and ASEAN Communication Network also in Malaysia. So this institution have been working very closely with partners and with the ASEAN member state to provide, as much support as possible, to fight the COVID-19. On the ASEAN side and, under the leadership of Vietnam's and also the ASEAN member state, working on the comprehensive recovery framework, response fund, regional reserve. There are also a number of initiatives that are, done by the sectoral bodies themselves. For example, a feasibility study on the establishment of the ASEAN Center for Public Health Emergencies, and now, the consultant are working on a numbers of key areas. So I hope that, the finding from this feasibility study will inform the members. It's not just about the center actually, because the study look at all aspects of our responses, and there's some findings that will be relevant and useful for the member state to use. We are now working on the online portal so that medical experts and professionals can also share their experience and lesson learned on such a platform. We are also working on the expert panels, and this expert panel is not just looking at the health impact of COVID-19, but also other aspects of COVID-19 as well. For example, safe reopening of the economies and so on. There's so many questions, when it comes to those areas. And in the coming weeks, we are also looking at, doing the mapping of the stakeholder so that we know how and in what way other sectors or entity, can support the health sector in responding to COVID-19. Although we are busy, with responding to COVID-19 in the short term, but we shouldn't lose sight of our long-term goals as well. Actually, if we have all of this in place, we might save even more lives. For example, universal health coverage, quality, healthcare systems, and, taking advantage of innovation and technological advances, the strengthening of our laboratory institutions so that they can detect, they can, analyze the pathogens as early and as accurate as possible. And most importantly, and this is some things that I'm very, excited about, that our regions, some of our members are working very hard on developing, our own vaccines, for example, Singapore, for example, Thailand, that's a good start. This is some things that I think the ASEAN region will be able, to play a bigger role in the future. So learning from these lessons and, building on the experience and also the partnership that, countries in the region have with our partners, probably, in the futures, we would be also, one of the centers that would be able, to produce such a vaccine therapeutic or diagnostic to support the response, to such an outbreak. The second areas that I would like to touch on is education. Because of COVID-19, schools are closed, and other, educational institutions are also closed. So according to some estimate, over 1 billion children at the global level, over 1 billion children and young peoples cannot go to schools, and that's almost equal to more than 9 out of 10. But the problem is that the impact is even more severe for children coming from poor family. If they are sent home now, they might not be able to return to school. And also with the COVID-19, they are struggling. Their families are struggling. So this is some things that going forward, ASEAN member state might also want to look at. When we want to bring back our children to schools, but there are cases that some of them might not be able to go because of their livelihood conditions, their family condition. So how we are going to do something about that, you know, to make sure that all of them can go back to schools and receive the education. One of the biggest impacts of not being able to go to schools is the catastrophic loss of productivity. You know, that's the biggest issues that we are facing now. They can't go to school, they can't study, and that will, you know, impacts, you know, how much they know about the subject matters and their capacity and capabilities, and also the potential to find something to do, you know, when they becomes they leave their schools and so on. Another impact that I think we should also look at as well. Going to school is not just about education. Schools are doing more than that. You know, it provides essential life support, you know, psychological support, mental health support, and to some extent in some member state, all of this, you know, children and young people even receive school meal, you know, some things that kind of, you know, relieving the burden of the family during these hard times as well. And now they cannot go, so all the burdens are falling on the family. It's not just about, you know, going out and finding something to feed the family, but also, you know, how they can help their children to continue to receive the education while they are now in lockdown. That's the big problems here. Of course, we have some solution, for example, digital education, but we also face another problem because only 53% of our population have access to internet as of 2018, which means another half might not be able to access to internet. And then even, you know, with more than 53% of the population in the region have access to internet, then there's also the questions of accessibility, affordability, infrastructures. And these are not really, you know, available in all places. And I think there's a survey by the World Economic Forums, and one of the concerns of our young people when it comes to digital learning, some of them do not have access to all of this, you know, although they can use the internet, but, you know, it requires more than that. It requires more than that. There's some intervention from the ASEAN member state and also ASEAN region. For example, you know, a lot of discussions among the relevant sectors on how we can address this at the SOMED level, and also, you know, with some of our entity, for example, ASEAN University Network. And I'm sure, you know, ASEAN Foundation is also doing something about this as well. So we are trying to find a solution, but at the end of the day, you know, some of the solution will be a long-term one. For example, you know, building the infrastructure to support digital platform and so on. But there's some, you know, short-term kind of solution. For example, the widespread use of SMS, you know, in our region, you know, there are more people than the entire population. There are more subscribers to the phones than the numbers of the population in the region. So I think they are taking advantage of that and sending some of the teaching materials, you know, through the SMS, and also, you know, taking advantage of the social media platform. We can see that some of the member states are taking advantage of that, and a lot of, you know, lectures and teaching materials are presented on, for example, Facebook, you know, some of the available social media platform out there. We are now also intensifies on, you know, our support for the community-based kind of support, because this is going to be a long-term strategies as well. But at the same time, it's something that we have done, you know, over the years, so we can, you know, leverage on the community-based approach, you know, to support the provisions of education to our young people, to our children. Let me move to the another point, which is labor, and that's also a major areas here. According to some estimate, also the estimate by the ILO, probably half of the world labor force will be impacted.
Sorry, DSG, I have to intersect.
I'm using more of the Okay, I will make it quick. How many minutes I still have?
Actually, you passed already, but I give you 2 more minutes to run up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So around 1.6 billion, you know, people in the labor force will be impacted by this, and the 5 hard hit, you know, sector in the regions that's account for around 153 million people will be impacted by this. So you can see that these people might not be able to have income anymore. and how they are going to support their families and so on. So this is also an areas that we have to look at, what kinds of employment benefit, what kinds of financial support, what kinds of relief that we can put in place. I know that member states have been introducing stimulus, a lot of, financial packages to support them, but, this is a big number, so how we are going to go about and do something about that. And also when we want them to go back to work, we need to also look at, the safe return and safe workplace. Of course, at the ASEAN level, we are now working on the guideline on how, these people can go back safely to their workplace and so on. And we hope that, this guideline will be useful for the ASEAN member state. Let me quickly go to the final points here. I think now we are preoccupied responding to COVID-19, but there's two things that we have to also, keep in mind as well, and taking advantage of the current outbreak. The first one is inclusive. When we are doing things in the future, we need to think about the inclusiveness here. The second one is the environmental sustainability. To some extent, the crisis that we are having is also because we don't have the balance, between human and nature here. Climate change, biodiversity depletions, and the consumptions of wildlife. I think we should take this opportunity and to be bold and to be tough on some of the issues that we are facing. We cannot just do things business as usual anymore. So these are the two main guiding principles that I hope to share with the meeting today. And I like to end here because I'm running out of times now. If there's any more question, we can discuss in the Q&A sessions. Back to you, Dr. Yang.
Thank you so much, DSG. So sorry that we have to end it. I'm sure everybody will be so excited to listen to more of your presentations because this is one of the most crucial issues that we face during this time. Actually, I will do the summary of your presentation sharing later. So thank you very much for this pointing out some of the key issues, especially on the inequality. So I think inequality is filled off with many other issues that are faced by us now during this COVID time, especially unable to access to broadband and all that. Especially, I'm actually quite shocked with the number of 53% only have access at this time. So the more ASEAN Foundation also, when we deal with youth on education, this is actually quite a big challenge for us also. So thank you so much for the sharing. We will come back to you later, DSG, when we have questions and also discussion sessions. Without further ado, let me, I wanted to introduce you to our second and also the last speaker. He's one of my most favorite CPR members also because he is one of the most supportive and happy-go-lucky person. So Ambassador Pak Mo actually is, he assumed his ambassadorial position since February 2018. And prior to becoming an ASEAN ambassador, he assumed the role of Consul General of the Republic of Indonesia in Perth, Western Australia. So without further ado, I wanted to pass the floor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Yang, as moderator, and your kind words, about me. I'm as a happy person. We are all happy. Whatever situation, we should happy. This keep everything moving. Once again, good morning to all, and also DSG Kung Pok. Thank you for your presentation. I think it's very useful for me to start the discussion. And probably some of you thinking why I take the topic on the external partner as SG during the celebration, SG ASEAN during celebration this morning, and also repeated by my chair, Ambassador Bin, that we cannot act alone. We have this is a global issue, and we have to work together. That's why the reason I take the topic for my this morning presentation is about our external partners. Much has been said by DSG Kung Pok about the challenge that what we are doing, and ASEAN has been has been doing so far, and I believe is moving forward and in the right direction. Now let me begin with my presentation. I will try to brief my presentation. Of course, I divide my presentation about the COVID-19 outbreak, the new normal, and several ASEAN-led meetings with external partners, and also the decision commitments that have been agreed by ASEAN with the partners. As DSG Kung Puk already mentioned, the impact of COVID-19 is not only about health, but social, economic, and disrupt connectivity, health issue, economic and disrupt tourism, decrease revenue of each individual ASEAN member state. But also increasing of using of internet has been mentioned, but in the the other side of this virtual or internet also prone to cyber attack. Financial service also disrupted, and DSG Kung Puk also mentioned school. By the way, since this the challenge to help economic moving, especially, I just want to share to all participants. Probably some of you will be aware. Today is ASEAN Day Sale. So you can go to online to buy the ASEAN products in each ASEAN member state. So to help also each of our ASEAN member state, and especially the small medium enterprise. So go to find the website, find the online ASEAN Day. So there's a sale only for today, and there's all can be found in the website. Next is about, as I mentioned, what's has been ASEAN doing work with the ASEAN with its partner. On the leaders level, we already organized a special ASEAN +3 summit on coronavirus disease 2019 or COVID-19. This is the first summit that we organized virtually with ASEAN leaders and +3 leaders from China, Japan, and ROK. And we have our leaders have a very good discussion, and I get to take some of the key point decision. Importantly, one is consider setting up the APT reserve essential medical supplies and establish COVID-19 ASEAN Response Fund. It is already established. Also commitment to keep market open for trade and investment, and ensuring the food security through ASEAN +3 emergency rice reserve, APTER, and readiness of Chiang Mai Initiative for Terrorism. So the APTER is actually for the rice. So hopefully, if something happened, this COVID that impact on the food supply, especially rice. So we already set up the APTER. Actually, it's already set up a long time ago, and to prepare any possible disruption on this. Also in Chiang Mai, it's also like support the economic of each ASEAN member state, and +3 if there is something happen in a financial. This is actually established during ASEAN financial crisis in 1998. So this actually ASEAN is already well prepared, or everything already been established previously based on our experience and lesson learned that we are experienced in several years ago. So besides also the leaders level, our ministers, both foreign minister, health minister, also have meeting discussion, and particularly, of course, the focus on COVID-19. Let me give you briefly some of meeting that already been organized by ASEAN and discuss with our partner. First is the special ASEAN-China Foreign Minister meeting on COVID-19. This is the first ASEAN ministerial meeting at the beginning of the pandemic start becoming, spread in the region. This is the first time, and I think in February, and this is physical meeting, still not yet virtual, but physical meeting. And then we discussed between ASEAN and China about many things, especially to mitigate and combat fighting counter COVID-19. But one I think is that we agree exchange of relevant data and technology, experience, capacity building, strengthen cooperation between Center of Disease Control and relevant institution of China and ASEAN. So this is a beginning when the pandemic start to be spreading of the region. That's we already, engaged and discussed with our partners. And also we have a special ASEAN United States Foreign Minister meeting on COVID-19, and during the discussion, the U.S. commit to U.S.-ASEAN Health Future Initiative and pledged around $35.3 million to support ASEAN in its work addressing and mitigating and fighting the COVID-19. We also have a special ASEAN-Russia Foreign Minister meeting on COVID-19, and one of I take away from the discussion is promote ASEAN Russia scientific cooperation in epidemiological, viral, molecular, genetic research, and develop a vaccine and antiviral medicine. And we also have a special ASEAN Australia Foreign Minister meeting on COVID-19, and there is initiative ASEAN Australia Health Security Initiative to strengthen regional health system to prevent and mitigate future pandemic, including possible cooperation on biodiversity and zoonotic disease. With other, regional organization, ASEAN EU, we also have been discussion on strengthening health cooperation within ASEAN-led mechanism. So not only the foreign minister, but also the economic minister, our economic minister also have discussion as well, meeting and particularly with the +3 economic minister. This, although the focus on more on economic, but they're not forgetting that it's important is to address also the health. The one issue that also I just mentioned previously is how to maintain and improve our supply chain connectivity, because of the pandemic in a little bit of disruption about supply chain. And then we agree to work toward post-final pandemic recovery. So we also already think, although the pandemic still happening now, but we already has to start to discuss what's happened if in the post pandemic. So we have to prepare that from now. So it's the discussion also mentioned about stabilized manufacturing, supply chain as again supply chain goods, services, improve stability, resilience, and regional economic, and so on. On the health sector, also there is a meeting with the health minister of ASEAN and the United States in enhancing cooperation on coronavirus disease response. This is focused on the human capacity, human resource development to improve our expertise and our knowledge about pandemic and how to address this pandemic through joint research, studies, exercise in area COVID-19, and also other possible pandemic in the future. So as I said, a training as well medical, health personnel, and laboratory analysis. This is all that we have been done, and the other outcomes, I know that's in the ministers, but in our expert, senior official, they also continue engage with other partners from ASEAN partners and come up with the very concrete activity and program. For example, this is some I put here in my presentation with ROK. We have now is implementing the enhancing detection capacity for COVID-19 in ASEAN member state. With Canada, we have a development ASEAN portal for public health emergency, and working with Japan, we now currently we are in the feasibility study on the establishment of the ASEAN Center of Public Health Emergency and Emerging Disease. So if this I know there's Ambassador Siba also joined with us. When we finalize, finalize this feasibility study, hopefully we can establish this center in ASEAN, so make it ASEAN more stronger and prepare for the possible pandemic in the future. With European Union Research and Innovation Initiative on COVID-19, this is also important. We have to continue our networking with our other laboratory researcher, with our partners. So it's also not only improving us, but also to exchange information and strengthening the capacity. With US, we work on formulation of the ASEAN Public Health Emergency Coordination System, standard operation development, cross-border contact tracing, and outbreak investigation. So if this, it is important, currently to have a contact tracing, so we try to prevent the spreading if we can be able to identify and how trace this, person that they have a possibility to to spreading this virus. With Canada also, we have a mitigation of biological threats program. It is especially for emergency operational center that DSG Kumpuk already mentioned for public health emergency, disease laboratory surveillance, big data analytics. And lastly, also with China, with ROK and Canada, we also continue technical assistance and exchange and provision medical supply equipment. So actually those that we have been working with our partner in mitigating, fighting, combating this pandemic in all fronts, in all sector and health in particularly, but also in economic and also and other impact that from the pandemic. This all I think I try to brief on my presentation. Then I want to briefly conclude from my presentation. ASEAN is active pursuing cooperation with all external partners. Again, I just want to underline what and repeat it, that we cannot do by ourselves. We have to work together, and then because this is not a regional pandemic, is not regional. It is a global issue, global pandemic, and so we have to work together on that particular. ASEAN also thank and appreciate extra partners for their commitments and sharing expertise, knowledge during this challenging and difficult time. ASEAN also currently implementing all that have been mentioned, all the decision commitment with external partners. Of course, is not hopefully is can be faster, but the situation is all current situation is challenged, but we committed and we continue work with our partner to implement all the decision or commitment, especially by our leader. ASEAN look forward to vaccine, which is supposed to be accessible and equitable, and equal to all, so everybody have the access. And hopefully this vaccine, some partners and some country already mentioned that this vaccine should be a public good, so everybody, every country, every people around the world have the access for the vaccine. And lastly, ASEAN will continue to work hard together to fight against this deadly pandemic, and our celebration and 53 years of ASEAN, we reaffirm our commitment to work together, not only within ASEAN, but also with external partners. This also has been mentioned this morning during the celebration by the Foreign Minister of Vietnam, the current chair of ASEAN, that the ASEAN will welcome and continue work with our partner. So that's all my brief presentation about ASEAN and external partners. If there's any question, I know I've been joined with my other colleague of PRs. They can help me if any question that I'm not able to answer, because they are, I think, about also have a very good knowledge and also capable on explaining further about ASEAN and also relation with its external partner. So I return to you, Dr. Yang, and I'm most welcome if any question addressed to me or other my colleague PR. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Yeah. Actually, there is a few questions from yesterday, some question, but I think one question I think is particularly pretty much quite directly, I think, directed to Ambassador Ade. Why do you think countries are interested in becoming external partner of ASEAN? So maybe you want to take this as a first question first.
Thank you. Yeah. So the question addressed to me, it's very interesting. You know, why external partners like to work and eager to work with ASEAN. You know,
yes,
in addressing this. So basically, because this is the pandemic. Of course, the health, but also the economic the impact, economic and social culture. In the past few years, as you know, many researcher or think tank, and also in the World Bank or ADB probably mentioned, because this region, ASEAN and also the wider region, I mean the Indo-Pacific region, is the one of the the engine of economic growth. You know, this is important. Have to know. You know what happened in this region. It's not an isolated issue. So we have to work together, and our partner realized that that working with ASEAN, first of course ASEAN have already established its mechanism. Or as I said in my presentation, we already established many mechanisms based on our experience, based lesson learned in the past history. So we already have the mechanism. So much easier for external partners, our partners, to work with ASEAN because they already have mechanism. We don't need to have to establish new mechanism because already there. And second, as I said, is ASEAN and also this region is one of the contributor of engine of economic growth. So have to be, an economic has to be be able to work, because if the impact is not only in the region but also have the global impact. So this is my view about this. Why ASEAN, our partner, And thirdly, so far as I know, you know, ASEAN is the only organization or association where all important major country in the world is engaged with us, and they be able to sit together with us, especially in the East Asia Summit or the ASEAN Plus One. This is the you know the venue for them to have a discussion, dialogue, and how to not only addressing the issue in the region, but how do we work together to address the issue, global issue, and particularly the current global issue is a pandemic. So this actually my view about to answer the question. I don't know if other my colleague PR would like to add. Please, I'm more than welcome.
One from the PR side, other members of Excellencies, any inputs or wanted to add on to what Ambassador Ade has been sharing? So if there's none, I will just continue with the second question. It's from No Navi from Cambodia. I have one question. My question is, how does ASEAN respond to solve the problem for education sector during COVID-19? Is it back again? Can you hear me? Sorry for the technical problems.
Hi there, everyone. So currently we're just experiencing a bit of technical glitches.
Yeah.
So just
okay, sorry, I'm back again, Joshua. Sorry,
awesome.
I think some Wi-Fi problems. So actually, the question is to DSG Kompo from No Navi from Cambodia. The question is, how does ASEAN respond to solve the problem of education during COVID-19 education sectors?
Sorry, everyone. Just bear with
Hello,
us.
hello. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Okay. Sorry,
Yeah,
I forgot to I forgot to turn on the mic.
Oh no!
What a challenge here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. sorry. Okay. Thank you for the questions. Again, you know,
I think it's
I
a
think
technical problem. So did you hear the question?
Yeah, I can hear the question is how ASEAN is addressing the problems of education during COVID-19.
That's right.
I think we are adapting to the new normal now that schools are closed, although in some member states they are relaxing the rules a bit. Some schools in safe areas are, you know, allowed to open. But then I think we need to adapt to the new normal here. And one of the solutions that ASEAN has been talking over the past months is how we can leverage on digital platform to provide education for our children and our young people. And also the challenges that we encounter and how we are collectively, addressing them. One of the challenge I just mentioned in my intervention is to make sure that the digital platform is accessible for all, is affordable for all. And that's, some things I think the member state have been, mobilizing the resources to support, at the national level. And there are also a lot of activities going on in terms of taking advantage of the community-based kind of solution to the provision of educations, in, some areas as well. We are planning to have the discussions with the higher educations, with the entity that is associated with us, like the ASEAN University Network, how the higher education is going to address that problem. So from the ASEAN level, we are trying to facilitate all the discussions possible here and find, all the creative ways, innovative ways, and hopefully, some of the recommendation can be useful for the ASEAN member state. Of course, we also have our own, work plan, our own, documents to advance, educations and also vocational training. Well, to some extent, I would say is that we are not that starting things from scratch. Actually, we have a lot of things already. The problem is, to adapt the work plan, to adapt the initiative and programs to the new normal, so that we can proactively and responsibly address the problems of education. So I don't think the discussion should be we don't have anything. No, I think we have plenty of things. Actually, I want to save this for the last remark, to end this meeting. But I think what we need to do is, to implement the work plan, the initiative and programs more aggressively than the spread of the virus itself. That's the most important things. We have a lot of things in place. It's just that we need to adapt some of it. But with the current plan and current initiative and program, we can to some extent manage some of this. We need more. We need more investment. We need more, commitment, and we need more of, inclusive ideas when it comes to implementing all of those. So that's the most important things, I think, for me.
Thank you, DSG. I think, may I add on also from the ASEAN Foundation's way, we deal a lot with so we move almost like the SG Kompok was mentioning. These things are continuous. It is not like we're doing it now overnight, but this kind of foundation has been since 2 to 3 years ago for technology and fact. It just, so I agree highly on this. And we also need private support, of course. Just now we can't do it alone. So I think one question I wanted to pass it to CPR member or ambassador. Do you think that one day ASEAN will evolve into a regional organization like the European Union, for instance, with a single currency and one parliament? So I pass, who wants to take these questions?
Is there my colleague to want to answer? If not, I will try to answer the question.
Ambassador,
Please.
Oh, you want to go first? Okay.
You first. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Give it to you.
Maybe Ambassador Lee Peng wants to take the question first. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good morning, everyone, and happy ASEAN Day. My name is Lee Peng. I'm the Perm Rep of Singapore to ASEAN. Singapore is currently the country coordinator for ASEAN-EU relations. So I thought I'd give this question a shot. There are a lot of similarities between ASEAN and the EU, but there is one very important difference. In ASEAN, all member states are equal. We are all the same level. The EU, however, is a supranational body. So the EU's member states have agreed to to pool some of their sovereign powers into the union. I think that the two associations are very interesting experiments in regionalism. And I think that they are tailored to the specific needs of these two regions, Europe and Asia, Southeast Asia. ASEAN does look at the EU for information, and we exchange lessons learned on our policies. But I think that there's a healthy respect for the unique qualities of both our regions, and therefore the unique approaches that we have both taken to deal with the challenges of our region. In short, the EU will always be a good friend and partner of ASEAN, but we will not quite be twins in how we develop. Yeah. Thank you.
Ambassador Ade, do you want to add on? Your audio, Ambassador Ade. Yeah.
Sorry. I think what Ambassador Lipeng's explanation already sufficient. I think I no need to me to add. I think, if there is other question, in the Q&A I saw the several question. I don't know how to answer those. It's up to the moderator to take up this one.
Dr. Yang? Sorry, once again, was experiencing technical glitches. I will just wait till she receives a bit of connection. Okay, we are currently experiencing technical glitches, so I'll take over. We do have our next question, which is, within the ASEAN community, have you faced any difficulties in getting all actors to cooperate? How do you encourage them to cooperate, especially when it is more beneficial to one party and less to another? Address to
Just thank you. I try to answer probably Dr. D.S. Jikung or other my colleague PR can answer. Difficulty, there's no difficulty, but the challenge probably still has a challenge, you know, all the actors to cooperate, you know, and the challenge is not because you know, because it's have idea how we can all many different idea could be, you know, synergized and then becoming all one unifying idea. This is such a, of course, many people have many ideas, many countries have several thought, but how to you know, to work together to elaborate and put it as one idea that be able to be accepted to all. this I think is there, but I do believe this everywhere in the world. Whenever there's many ideas, we have to we always face this, but it's not particularly to ASEAN, but it's a normal process that we have gone through, and I don't think also from the question I read if one is more beneficial and the rest is less beneficial. There is no one particular is more than the others. All is actually equal. Even the less is also important. The more is probably can contribute further on the implementing or certain activity or program or idea. So there is no more beneficial, less beneficial. Everything is beneficial, and the challenge is how we can formulate all together, become whole conclusion that beneficial to all our, not only ASEAN. So because we work with ASEAN with partners, not only beneficial for ASEAN, but also beneficial as well to our partners as well. Our cooperation always based on mutual trust and mutual beneficial. Of course, this is a process to have to go through. I think this is my answer. I hope my other colleague can also add or further give explanation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ambassador. I think that is true. We have to be mutually benefiting to each other. So I think the next questions I have is to DSG Kong. As explained, new normal has a strong impact on all factors, and there are some things that are beneficial when adopting new normal. When the pandemic is over, will we return to our first habit before the pandemic? How is ASEAN doing this? That means, are we going to go back to our, as usual, how we used to live? Because people tend to forget sometimes their experience, so they will continue with the old habits again. So how are we going to do it?
Thank you for all the questions. I think we cannot afford to go back to what we used. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. I don't think that we can afford, to go back to the old day. We have to adapt to the new realities, and we have to put in place measures as well. It's not just about, the talk. Of course, it's easy to say that, because of COVID-19, things will be different. But I think what is more important is if we factor in all of this new challenges, emerging challenges in the ways we work. At least I can, talk from the ASCC side. Now we are working on the work plan for all of our 14 sectoral bodies. And all the discussions on the development of the work plan incorporate, the COVID perspective. So it means that we are serious, when we are doing our work plan. And it's not just about the sectors that I just mentioned, for example, labor, educations, poverties and all that, but even some other sector, even like, museum, we also need, to look at it from a new perspective as well, from the experience that we learned from COVID-19. So what I'm trying to say is that we cannot afford, to go back to the old day. And, we also mean what we are talking, and we are now, trying to incorporate, all the new thinkings and new ways of doing things in the development of our work plan, of our programs and activities. And that is very clear from the ASEAN side, I think.
Thank you, DSG.
Sorry, just bear with us one moment.
Taking this is on tourism industry, yeah, because all of us know tourism industry was so tourism industry indeed for some countries. I think for both. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's technically glitching, but I'll take over the next question. The tourism industry seems to have high share in GDP for some ASEAN countries. So what is the priority on this sector for ASEAN's strategic role? Address to DSG.
Yeah, tourism is the last question. Yeah.
Thank you for the questions. Actually, I will try my best, but tourism is not under my purview. There are some discussions already, about the tourist corridor or business bubble and so on from our tourist, sector. But of course, if we want to do that, we have to do it in a safe way. Health is the priorities. We have to make sure that when we are doing that, then it is safe for our people. It's safe for those who, go to that area. I think it's still at the early stage, if I'm not wrong. I hope that my colleague Al can, be here so that he can explain more detail. But from the health side, because it also involves some of the sector under ASCCs as well. On the one hand, which is the health sector, and health sector will play very important roles here to facilitate a safe reopening of the tourist sectors. And also because when we're talking about tourism, it's not just about, having somebody arriving at the tourist site, it's the whole supply chain here, traveling, hospitality industry, a lot of factors, and some of them are still, at a stage that we are not so sure how things will move from here. But now I think they are working on that, stakeholder discussions and how each sector can support one another. Of course, the health sector will be there, to provide as much support as possible. It also involves the labor sectors as well, because here we are talking about people, going back to work in the tourist industry and so on. But what I can say is that now there are discussions on the tourist corridors and another initiative which is more on the abilities of the business people to travel so that they can maintain the continuity of the business and so on. But of course we need to have a very comprehensive discussions on that. So when we are doing it, then we are doing it in a safe manner.
Thank you for sharing your insights, DS.
May I add?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. I actually was already mentioned by DSG Kongkok, but I just want to share a little bit. Of course, as mentioned, and also my presentation, tourist industry is the most hardly hit from the pandemic. And in the early stage, our tourism minister, I think, already have also the meeting and discussion on how to coordinate with other, especially of course first on the coordination about regulation policy being introduced by each ASEAN member state, so they know each other. What's this is important. First, you have to know what's the policy of or regulation due to pandemic or within ASEAN member state. Second, as I also mentioned also by DSG, and then we now are discussing also to have a travel bubble facilitation scheme framework. We to help the tourist industry. Of course, at the beginning, it's a small internal. For example, in Indonesia, there is previously several provinces closed, no connectivity, but now gradually, especially Bali, because Bali, very known for the tourism, it's just started only a couple of weeks ago. So it's a gradual, at least from base experience from at least from Indonesia, how we deal with tourists, local tourists. Then if they get more more understanding and more how to improve, then probably we'll be able to also open to other countries, although I know there is also some foreigner also still be able to access. And I do believe in several ASEAN member states also doing the same thing. I know Vietnam also has done that as well. So within ASEAN, we continue work on this travel bubble and also travel corridor arrangement. Probably at the early stage is more for essential travel, especially the business, medical, and government official. From that, we can learn how to to improve a much better framework that we can use for opening for tourists. So yes, this at least in ASEAN, we already already start to discuss this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. The next question I'll move to, this question is actually specially given to Ambassador Paspon. Greeting from Panelist from Cambodia. Thanks for all our honorable presenters. I really appreciate the response fund. Regarding this fund, can you please elaborate about it, about the sectors that ASEAN should focus on, the scope of the joint fund? Should we practice joint fund even after COVID-19? So may I call upon and invite Ambassador Paspon?
Thank you very much. Good morning and happy ASEAN Day. And I'm very happy that this question has come up from our colleagues in Cambodia. This COVID-19 response fund is one of the substantive and very tangible achievement of ASEAN effort that we have been combating regarding the COVID-19 in our region. And this fund is served as a pool of financial resources to provide support for the ASEAN member states, especially on the health sector. As you know that during COVID-19, there have been a lot of reallocation of resources. And we need to have the focus on our health sector, especially with the frontliners. So this COVID-19 response fund is for that purpose. At the moment, we have had voluntary contribution from ASEAN member states like Thailand, as well as the external partners like the ROK for this fund. And we hope that we'll be implementing this fund very soon, especially by our ASEAN sectoral body on health sector. Thank you.
Very much. I think what we do is there is the time itself, it's already almost, so we can take one or two more questions. So let me just go to the next questions. The next question is, this is actually going to all the CPR members. So this is from Nankrovis. I would like to ask Ambassador how the role of CPR has evolved over the years and how they see it evolving into the future. So any takers for this?
Okay, Dr. Yang, let me try to answer this question. This is a very good and pertinent question about the work of CPR. So as already my chair, Ambassador Bin already mentioned CPR about Committee Permanent Representative here in Jakarta. The work of CPR since the first established, I think in 2010, when we start to have the CPR, is the work is evolving progressively, you know. And of course, at the beginning, is mostly it's only ASEAN member state have the ambassador, the PR here. But then gradually our partners, especially our dialogue partners, also assign dedicate ambassador to ASEAN. So there's a lot of engagement nowadays with not only within ASEAN but our partners under the framework of ASEAN +1, ASEAN +3, and East Asia Summit. And for us now, the CPR, the work is become more and more, not only because, again, not only because there's a dedicated ambassador to ASEAN, but also 53 years of ASEAN, you know. ASEAN become, I can say, is more have a prominent standing in the global arena. This morning, my foreign minister during her speech in celebrating ASEAN Day, you know, when we established in 1967, many people, you know, have doubt whether ASEAN can survive even in 1 or 2 years, you know, because we are very diverse. But the fact now we are here until 53 years, and the works is you know, getting more, and we be able to cooperate with each other, and then many external partners would like to increase the interaction and engagement. And second, to be I can share to you, many countries also actually queue to have a status with working cooperation status with ASEAN. So this is a very interesting, you know, and so I do believe in the future more work at CPR, more mandate authority given to CPR. Not only monitoring, but also working to ensure the implementation, the leaders' decision, and most importantly as well, how we can you know, follow up about our blueprint to strengthen ASEAN community that beneficial for the people. As we always mention, ASEAN is a people-centered and people-oriented organization. Thank you. If other colleagues probably want to add
I'd like just to add to what Ambassador Ade has mentioned. Of course, over the years, for 11 years now, the role and the functions of the CPR, of course, have been expanded. And we envisage more work and tasks will be assigned to the CPR, to Jakarta, in the next couple of years. And in preparation for that, each individual missions, permanent missions of ASEAN have received dedicated officials from the economic side, the social cultural side, so that this is not only one mission that consists of only foreign affairs officials. Rather, we will have people from the economic, from the social cultural side. So that means that more and more we are preparing to take on more tasks, and it's for the ASEAN community being work. But at the same time, I believe that with this kind of platform for meetings, and we've been able to carry forward a lot of tasks this year. That means that the CPR has been able to do a lot of, has been able to achieve more. And then what I'm trying to say is this medium of meeting, and then the body of the CPR in Jakarta will be able to carry on. And with the support, with the enforcement from capitals, from the economic and from social control side, we will be able to work. And that's also one important element is to emphasize the ASEAN Secretariat. I think it's very important when we work together with ASEAN Secretariat day by day, and with the missions, we will expect the task to us to increase, and I'm sure that we will be able to take on more tasks in future. And I think with the external partners, as Ambassador Ade mentioned, reinforcing or expanding their missions here, I'm sure that we will continue strengthening the CPR and to work with partners as well. Thank you.
Dr. Yang? Just wait 1 second. All right, we will proceed with our next question. Thank you for sharing your insights. Digital economy would be one of the tools that we have used to speed up the economic recovery. In Latin America, Chile has been very active in promoting this new form of trading, with Singapore and New Zealand just signing the DEPA, Digital Economy Partnership Agreement. Does ASEAN consider to enhance this kind of instrument? So this question today is from Ambassador Gustavo, and I hand it over to you.
Lipeng, Ambassador Lipeng, probably you can.
Thank you, Ambassador Ade, and thank you to Ambassador Gustavo for the question. I think that the digital transformation was gathering a lot of momentum before COVID, but I think this pandemic has accelerated the transformation that is changing the way we work and live. I think that the digital connection we have managed to retain has been a lifesaver for our region, and also I think for Latin America. We have a lot of room for improvement, and I think that we have to work on the hard infrastructure as well as the soft infrastructure. In ASEAN, we have a very active digital sectoral under the economic pillar. And there is also a lot of work underway to examine how digitalization can improve lives in ASEAN countries, and also help ASEAN nationals prepare for the changes of the fourth industrial revolution. It's a very exciting sphere, but I think that there are certain building blocks and elements that we need to work harder to provide to our people. First and foremost, access to the internet. This digital gap remains an issue, although we have been improving in ASEAN, but I think that we have a lot of work to do here, and not just to close the digital gap, but to upgrade our digital skills. ASEAN has just set up a technical vocational education training council, or TVET council. And part of the council's mandate is to skill our young people, teach them how to do, give them digital skills that they can use to bring forward. And these skills are going to be in ever growing and ever greater demand. Just to circle back to an earlier question on education, UNICEF expects almost 16 million children, I think, to have their education impacted by COVID. This is a very grave issue, especially for ASEAN, because we have a young population here. And we need to skill and educate this young population because they're the ones who are going to carry on the work of ASEAN integration. And not just that, they are the ones who have aspirations for a better life and hopefully to help their families. So in short, ASEAN has a lot of work to do, but I think that we have been making good headway so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Li Peng. I just have one more final question. This is from Nico Elnar. Mabuhay, greetings from the Philippines. Happy 53rd ASEAN Day. I appreciate the efforts our ASEAN leaders and change makers is coping up with the—
Thank you so much, Ambassador Li Peng, for answering directed.
Sorry, experiencing technical glitches, so I'll carry forward. I appreciate the efforts our ASEAN leaders and change makers is coping up with pandemic situation. In the past 5 months, many people have lost their jobs, livelihood to support their family and also their education. In this regard, I would like to know how would the ASEAN reach out or implement projects and or policies to support the aforementioned and those who have returned to their hometowns, rural and remote areas with no access to digital platforms, etc., especially at this time of pandemic that community quarantine and or lockdowns are being implemented by the government sector. I'd like to Ambassador Noel to take the floor.
Thank you very much. Mabuhay, Nico Elnar. Thank you for raising this issue about digital cooperation. Our previous speaker, Ambassador Li Peng, spoke about the developments and the plans on how to enhance further digital cooperation in the region. I would just like to mention about a project which is ongoing, a project which we are doing with the ASEAN Foundation and ASEAN Committee on Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. It is called the Go Digital ASEAN, the digital skills to address the economic impact of COVID-19 projects. In the Philippines, we have partners there and NGOs which are involved in this project. And we hope that as we progress with our work, we will be able to expand the participation of other sectors in who are in need of digital connection in this time of pandemic. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you for sharing your response and useful insights, Ambassador Noel. I just wanted to double check, Dr. Yang.
Actually, Ambassador.
Before we proceed, I'd like to ask if any of the other permanent representatives would like to provide an answer.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me clearly? Sorry.
Yep, it's getting much better now. We'll just wait for around a minute for the signal to pick up.
So while we're waiting for Dr. Yang to fix, there's one question on environmental sustainabilities, and I can't, get away from that question. So I just want to make a quick interventions. First, we are very blessed. ASEAN is very blessed. We endow with 60% of world tropical peatlands, and this peatlands is serving a very important role, providing essential ecosystem services and nutrient rich soils and water preservations. We are also having only 3% of Earth's land, but it covers 4 biodiversity hotspots and contains 3 of the world's 17 mega diverse nations, and that include Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines. So it's our utmost, responsibility, to protect the nature so that the nature can protect us. That's my short question to the short answer to the question on environmental sustainability. Thank you.
Add on. Can I add on the environment, DSG Kumput? I definitely agree with what you have said, but I just want to draw attention to the audience that we do have many centers, many ASEAN centers that do researches and studies as well. So there is a sustainability of our effort in environment. Especially when we talk about the challenges from the COVID-19, we know that, with the one use time mask, and as well as any protective clothing or anything now tend to be very adversible to environment. But we have many mechanisms and many platforms that we can address to that type of challenges, especially when we have the leaders' statements that evolved with sustainable development as well as marine plastic debris. And this is the time, as many of us have said that we have to make the COVID-19 as an opportunity for all of us to reactivate and regenerate our efforts through the blueprint, through the statements, and with the existing tools that we have, like, as I said, the ASEAN centers, so that we can go towards our long-term goal, as the SG has indicated. We have to continue with the our discussion, our network, engagement networks, and these networks has to be inclusive. It's not only governmental. Everybody knows that it's not one sector approach, but it's the 3 pillars, as well as inclusive in a way of the society, because Ambassador Ade has indicated that ASEAN community is going for the people-centric and people community. So it's inclusive in a way that all sectors in the society have to be involved. So I just want to add to what the SG Kumput said regarding the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, can you hear me, everyone? Joshua, can you hear me clearly?
There's just a bit of technical glitches. Would you like to try again? One moment as we try to regain the signal again. Thank you for your patience, everyone.
Okay, it's open.
Okay, so at this stage, it seems like we are experiencing some technical difficulties. So I'd like to thank all of our panelists for sharing their insights. And as we proceed forward, I will speak on behalf of...
Sorry, can you hear me, Joshua?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. So sorry for this. Actually, this is the technical issues that go beyond. So I think after all the sharing, I actually would like to ambassador of Vietnam and also the chair of ASEAN 2020, His Excellency Tran Dubi, were very respective speakers, Ambassador Ade Patmo and also DSG Kong, for your sharing. I would like to thank also the CPR members to the COVID-19 situation in the region and also ASEAN corporations. I mean that this is a very good discussion. For the first time, I think that we are operating this first series, and then we see that many questions, and we are so sorry if we didn't manage to answer all the questions, because we do have few more questions lined up, but I think because of the time, so we have to actually summarize today's discussion. But I can go around one more round to all these, the two distinguished speakers and our keynote speakers, if you have anything to say before we end this, close this session. Thank you.
Thank you, moderator. Let me begin first.
Ade, you want to start first with the speech?
Yeah, I just briefly, you know, of course, to thanks ASEAN Foundation and especially you, Dr. Yang, as Executive Director of the ASEAN Foundation, all my chair, CPR, and also all my colleague PR and also the SG Kungpok for joining this. This is, you know, the good platform for us, ASEAN, especially in the CPR, to share what we are doing now. In not only due to current situation, but not only that, at least we can share what actually ASEAN is and how to increase not only to know ASEAN, but to understand ASEAN and how to work, how it works, and how we engage with our partners for the mutual beneficial, and of course our objective is to strengthen our regional integration, to build a strong ASEAN community that are people-centered and people-oriented. Thank you.
Perhaps I would like just to add to what Ambassador Ade has just summed up. Really appreciate this initiative, and we thank you all for joining us. We hope that you will join us in many webinars in future, and I'm sure that we'll have hopefully next time we'll have more interactions and you know, more interactive modes in our discussion, and hopefully we will be able to answer as many questions next time as possible. Thank you.
All right, so this concludes our live Q&A. Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. I will close on Dr. Yang's behalf. I would like to thank the Ambassador of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam to ASEAN and Chair of ASEAN 2020, His Excellency Ambassador Tran Duc Bin, for your keynote speech. A special appreciation to the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to ASEAN, His Excellency Ambassador Ade Padmo Sarwono, and the Deputy Secretary General for ASEAN Social Cultural Community of the ASEAN Secretariat, Mr. Kung, for your insightful presentations. I would also like to thank the rest of ASEAN ambassadors for offering plethora of insights into COVID-19 situations in the region and ASEAN cooperation. The COVID-19 raises social and economic challenges, and the impacts are deeply local. Policy response needs to be rapid and at the same time well-targeted, which is a big challenge for many countries. Investment in public health, social safety nets, and economic stimulus are essential to help countries recover faster. And as I mentioned before, or in the words of our Executive Director, Dr. Yang, harnessing digital transformation is one of the ways to ensure that this region stays cohesive and responsive during the new normal. One thing for sure is that we cannot overcome this unprecedented time on our own. This is a global crisis that requires global solidarity and strong cooperation. We are facing an extraordinary challenge, and using conventional methods won't be enough. We must all work together to ensure recovery. Cooperation and collaboration have been two of the key ingredients that make ASEAN stronger than ever. Finally, our Executive Director, Dr. Yang, hopes that this webinar has been enlightening and empowering for everyone, and we really appreciate your participation in this webinar. Good day, happy weekend, and see you next time. Stay safe and healthy. So yeah, moving forward from the words of Dr. Yang, I would like to thank her for her moderation of an insightful Q&A alongside these presentations. They're very much appreciated. And alongside commemorating our ambassadors, I would like to thank you, our audience, for your engagements throughout this webinar. Now hold it right there. We're not done yet. Before we end this webinar, we'd like to present to you a video story of ASEAN's logo original design, featuring an exclusive interview with the designer himself, Mohammed Radzi Hanif, and specially brought to you today in collaboration with the Connect ASEAN program, pronunciation starting with the K. For those wondering, Connect ASEAN is a collaborative initiative with the ASEAN Secretariat, ASEAN Foundation, and the Republic of Korea, focusing on artistic exchange across Southeast Asia. They do this through their contemporary art platform, working to engage and initiate dialogue between South Korea and ASEAN, all for the purposes to connect ASEAN, starting from the K. And now to the video you've been waiting for. Just bear with us as we get it up.
"2020 has been designated as ASEAN's Year of Identity. To mark the occasion, a logo design competition was held. The winning blooming flower design, created by Filipino Jamari Mangyat. The designer of the original ASEAN logo was also established through a design competition held in 1977 to 1978. The winner, design student Mohammed Radzi Hanif, from the Mara Institute of Technology in Malaysia, was then 22 years old. Today, we are speaking to him in his home in Rawang in Malaysia to gain his recollection of the ASEAN logo competition and the story behind the ASEAN logo's original design.
And people look at it from time to time, from my generation to my children's generation, then they realize that it's still authentic, still relevant to the context of my time. So I think I'm humble to be able to contribute. I mean, although it takes 47 years for people to recognize that, Paddy, it becomes a good choice that unified everyone, because everyone picked Paddy or rice as a staple food. Concept and design, although it can come together, I think the concept is much stronger when you have the right ingredient. A stalk of paddy, or rather a sheaf of paddy. In Malay, they call it segemal padi, where people reap the paddy and then they bind it. Then it reminds me of the story of the king who wants to pass the throne to his 3 sons, thinking that who is smart enough to understand. So what he gives is a set of arrows, a bunch of arrows, and then asking each of his sons to break them. So 2 of the sons tried to break, and they couldn't break until the youngest son break the arrow one by one. So I think it gives me give me the finality of the concept of how the shift become a good unifying element of economy shared by the 5 countries of Southeast Asian nation. Yellow ochre reminds us of matured paddy. So we are talking about a group of Asian who are mature enough to look for themselves and then understand their predicament. By standing on their own, they cannot last. So they have to unite. I think that's the essence of ASEAN, I believe. I see ASEAN as a hope for change in Southeast Asia. It gives me great pleasure to be able to see from time to time they're still there. And I always tell my wife, still there, meaning that it hasn't been changed. But of course, time will tell. People change, things change. With great changes, but it will change. Hopefully for the better.
Eye-opening, right? Thank you once again to Connect ASEAN for their co-facilitation in this simple yet meaningful story you've just witnessed now. If you have the chance, I highly recommend that you look into the wonderful and empowering works of Connect ASEAN, pronunciation starting with a K. To end on a high, I wish you a very warm and happy ASEAN Day, and in light of taking our new normal forward, we can look to the spirit of ASEAN Day as a testament to be cohesive and responsive to the needs of our communities during these unprecedented times. Let's not forget that in togetherness and unity, we are strong. And to leave you with a final quote, which I say with conviction, I can do things you cannot. You can do things I cannot. But together, we can do great things. Congratulations, the moment you've been waiting for, the key to unlocking your certificates. What you need to do now is, upon leaving the Zoom application, a survey link will be distributed according to your webinar webpage browser, and I ask that you fill it to enable the official issuing of certificates in the next 4 to 5 days. Thank you, everyone. And please don't forget to follow our ASEAN Foundation social media feeds ranging from Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube for the latest ASEAN youth updates and for future announcements of our next CPR webinar. Thank you, everyone, and bye for now. This marks.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Keep safe. Keep healthy.
Yeah, bye-bye, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Yang.
Thank you, Ambassador, and thank you all my bosses and the SGCom.
Thank you, Yosua.
Happy ASEAN Day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Happy
Thank you so much, Excellencies. Goodbye. Happy ASEAN Day.
Thank you, team,
Bye-bye. Thank
for
you
the
so
good
much.
work and hard work.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care.
Bye.
Bye.